Welcome to a short story about KLFM and its response to the recent flood emergency. KLFM started way back in the 80s and was incorporated in the 90s. It has an S-Class licence, S for seniors, and that's why we do what we do. We have volunteer announcers on air 18 hours a day for most of the week. We play to seniors the music we and they all grew up with. The station has a vast number of loyal listeners because they like what we do. We aim to look after all listeners with programs that range from blues and roots, jazz and everything in between, even a bit of sport. We have a main transmitter in Bendigo and a secondary transmitter in Castlemaine to fulfil our licence obligations. We have many listeners well beyond our required broadcast area, which means we are well placed to cover any emergencies with our on-air live announcers. Following the Black Friday Royal Commission, we recognised our value as a community resource and worked with Emergency Victoria to become an official emergency broadcaster. The key purpose of that Memorandum of Understanding is to help protect human life and facilitate the effective dissemination of emergency information via Radio KLFM in regional Victoria. In August 2022, we began recording many of our announcements of emergency incidents without any idea how useful it would become. The flood emergency tested everyone in Central Victoria, including our presenters who did their very best to both present and then record all emergency announcements as they occurred. This on top of the day-to-day work of presenting their program. This slide indicates the extent of the floods and the impact they had on the region. There were severe impacts from the flood along the Campaspe, with many homes inundated in Rochester and the surrounding area. The floods also had an impact along the Loddon and Avoca rivers. We have many reports from affected listeners in those areas. As the Murray flooding moved along the river, we continued to provide emergency information to the scattered rural communities under threat. I repeat, the recommendation from the Black Friday Royal Commission was to help protect human life and facilitate the effective dissemination of emergency information via KLFM radio in Victoria. Our effective contribution to that goal was clearly demonstrated by this emergency. The station felt privileged to be able to disseminate vital information and to support the affected communities and to help protect human life. Without sponsors, KLFM would not exist, and Central Victoria would have been less safe during the recent flood event. Without our sponsors keeping us on air, more lives may have been lost. If you'd like to support in any way, give Graham a call on 0409 164 600 or you can contact him at graham@klfm.com.au. We appreciate you taking the time to learn more about KLFM and its response to the recent flood emergency.